2024. Our next meeting is in 2 weeks. 26, thank you. Please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have a couple decisions this afternoon. The first one is Prime Storage, 99 Depot Road. Anybody here for the applicant? I need a motion to waive the decision, to waive the reading of the decision as written.
I make the motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
The second one is West Hampton Inn.
Didn't actually move to adopt.
No.
Made a motion to waive the reading and adopt. How about that?
You're slowing me down, dude.
We were speaking right along here for a minute.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, now number two. West Hampton Inn LLC, 43 Main Street. Jim, will you, it's not you? Okay. Anybody here for the applicant? I need a motion to waive the reading of the decision as written
I make the
And
motion.
adopt it.
and then adopt it.
I make the motion.
Not two motions?
You can do it in one, but you gotta say and adopt.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We have a request for a time extension for Avador Group LLC. I was wondering who would be the fall guy on this, because you know who wasn't coming.
The architect of record. Well, Jeff couldn't.
Jeff didn't want to.
You know the deal.
Yeah.
And Avi Avador approached me and said, "Would you appear on my behalf?" He's unfortunately out of the country. They need another extension of time. I know that they've asked for quite a number of them.
Well, we're 4 years in now.
I'm sorry.
We're 4 years in.
Yeah.
And this has actually tested the patience of this planning board excessively.
I
I
understand.
noticed that it gets cut when we're about to ask for another extension. They
Well-
fix the lawnmower and then cut it. Otherwise, the lawnmower stays parked there.
To be honest with you, when he asked me 3 weeks ago, it happened because I was doing my construction review for the synagogue, and I just passed by there, and I said, "What the heck's going on?" And I called him up, and that's when I found out that Jeff wasn't involved. I told him, I said, "Cut the lawn, get it maintained, and I will try." I understand it's tested the planning board's patience. To be honest with you, I'd like to see that developed as architect of record. I'm just going to respectfully ask that you give them one last extension, and I'll do everything in my power to push him. He did have a couple of potential tenants.
All right,
but
all right.
unfor- No, hey,
We're going to discuss it with the board. Don, do you have any particular
No.
inclination?
Right now, no, thank you.
Larry?
I'd like to see that side development, see it move ahead. We've talked about it a long time.
How much time are you looking for?
I was looking for a year.
Not going to happen.
Okay,
You've never got, you haven't gotten a year in recent
My
memory.
thoughts are 6 months.
all right. I'll
Well,
take
I
it.
think
that-
we're
that's-
actually
that's-
coming up on October is when this becomes weeded out. Okay,
Okay.
so it's not going to go past December 31st. You're not going to get a year. You're not going to get 6 months. We're not going to do 3 months anymore. That's enough.
All right. I totally get it. It's like you said,
Okay.
fall guys here. All right. So I'm here to appear for him to try to do the best I can.
Makes us all look bad.
Sorry?
It makes us all look bad. It looks like this
understand
board
that.
isn't doing their job. I've got sites all over Montauk Highway that look like heck. And every time I go someplace, I can't even go out in the village without somebody saying, what's going on here, what's going on there? And I don't have any smart answers. That's
Not
not
the
good.
only one that
No,
gets asked.
I have to tell you, same thing happens to me.
Okay, good. I'm happy to hear
Thanks, I
that.
appreciate that.
We share the misery.
Well, it's with all due respect, it's embarrassing.
You should let him know too. Come over here. Over here.
I'm sorry, looking over there.
Let him know that a couple of years ago, Jeff had, on his behalf, had instigated a code change to allow a bunch of extensions.
Right,
The code change was done, created a maximum of 4 years.
okay.
He'll be past the 4 years. So that's the reason why the board is hesitant to even, I mean, the fact that he started sooner is the only reason they're allowed to consider it. If he had started after that,
Okay.
it wouldn't even be within their permission to grant the additional
Well,
extension, so.
This is news to me because as you know, I haven't, after we got the original approval 4 years ago, you haven't seen me on this project. because
Very
they basically- So here I am. I'll take the heat, but I appreciate that you'll give me till the end of the year and I'll tell them that.
Are we all in agreement?
Yeah, no, that's right.
Yeah, but that's the end of the road. Thank you. The end of it.
So I need a motion to grant the extension until December 31st of 2024,
Final extension?
the final.
Finally, make the motion.
Second,
Second,
all in favor?
aye.
Thank you.
Fair enough.
You're a brave man.
You tell them. Thank you.
We don't shoot the messenger.
Okay, so we're going to start with the work session agenda. First, Dune Development, 496 LLC, 496 Dune Road. Good evening. Good evening, Mr. Muir. For the applicant, James M. George.
As the board is well aware, this was a subdivision that was approved a couple of months ago, I guess. And we find ourselves with a bit of a dilemma in that in order to get the approval here, we needed DEC approval, but the DEC, unlike the village, did not approve the location for the improvements. And so we have a dilemma if we tear the site down and then file the map, and then the DEC doesn't approve the project. We've given up something significant and we'll not be able to do what we hope to do. In discussion with council and planner, my clients have suggested an alternative to demolition as would be some type of a bond in order to ensure there'll be demolition, so that we can then file the map without doing the demolition, get the DEC approval for the particular improvements, and then proceed with the demolition at that point. And we've, at the request of the planner, we provided what we believe is an appropriate estimate for the ultimate demolition, and we would be looking to get approved a bond in that amount to secure that performance.
What say you about the bond amount?
The village would have to do machinations to get it through. Maybe another 10,000, 60,000.
So you're recommending 60?
That's fine.
What kind of timeframe are we talking about here?
Well,
I mean, are we looking at 5 years with you too?
no. As part of the original subdivision application with the DEC, we did have discussions about this forthcoming. We just could not get them to agree to it. So, and they won't process the application for the homes without the filed map. So, I don't think it'll be an extraordinary amount of time, and I think the DEC is understands the project already. They just didn't feel that they were in a position to grant both reliefs at the same time.
Well, in layman's terms.
6 months. Getting paid by the word, I guess, but me and Charles Dickens.
What we would normally do, I mean, had they asked for this before, it would have been a reasonable condition that would have been built into the first. They hadn't mentioned it before, so the decision was written that they had to do the demolition before the map was filed. So legally, there's no problem. We just have to amend the decision itself to.
Have we ever done this before?
I don't know if we've done it for demolition. We certainly do bonding for improvements, and this is really just the flip side of an improvement. They don't have any improvements because they don't have to build a road. What they do have to do is demolish what's there. So I've certainly seen it in other jurisdictions. Demolitions get bonded.
Oh, the
So-
site's gonna be maintained, right?
Yes.
We're
Oh,
not
yeah.
talking about
We're not gonna walk
abandoning
away.
it as soon as we say yes.
No, and they won't be entitled to pull any building permits on the two building lots. So they'll file the subdivision map. They won't be allowed to pull any permits on the two building lots until the demolition's done also. So there's really two effective
Yeah. Risk
protections for
mitigators.
the village to make sure it's done ultimately. One being the bond and two being that they're never gonna get a permit again until they take care of the condition. So.
You're happy with 60? You sure you don't want a little more?
I added.
Okay.
But we built in a little more to begin with. so there's a
Sure,
little
we
more of the-
negotiated
little
up,
more.
yeah.
So if you're okay with the concept, we could have a resolution for the next meeting, I think. And it would, just remember, it's a two-step process, so you would recommend the amount of the bond.
Right.
They would still have to go to the trustees, the board of trustees, to file the bond, and the trustees have to accept it, so. This would just set them up for how to satisfy that condition, so that they could then file the map.
So we need not do anything tonight. Jim basically has to go back and prepare.
You just let us know that you're okay with it. And then we'll get a decision drafted for you for the next meeting.
You with us, Rocco?
I'm with you.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm on board.
Okay.
Sounds reasonable.
The only other thing I would ask is there's a whole bunch of time periods for doing things that were in the original resolution. And I would ask that they be extended out to beyond, I guess, the approval of the bond by because we can't file the map till the bond's approved.
We can reset,
Yes.
we,
that's what
we
I
can
was-
reset the time periods.
Okay.
You'll still have to, I mean, there's only so much a time period you can give with the first approval, but you can always come back for extensions under the
That's
New
fine.
York Village law.
And not a lot of them.
No. Thank
All
you.
right, so we don't have any issues. See you next time. Good luck. Thank you, Jim. Okay, we're doing a site plan review for Hampton's Landmark LLC, 97 Hazelwood Avenue. I think we're coming down the home stretch on this one.
Yeah, hi, good evening, Heather Wright for the applicant. So we received comments, Ron, from you for the latest iteration of the plans. They're all fine, and we will incorporate them into our submission for the public hearing. I just had two clarifications that I wanted to ask you, if possible. One, you noted the notation on the maps regarding the office space. It's really not professional office space, it's special trade contractor. So the idea is it's not like a lawyer or a doctor going in there.
Well, you're saying general office, but it's really the office and the space behind, I guess the lighting plan, you show a vehicle in there, which it kind of looks more like a contractor's office. But I suppose that may be where you're running the transportation office from.
Exactly, so, you know, we might put cars in there, it might be like just general storage, but the applicant's business is is more of a special trade contractor than a professional office.
Yeah, I agree. with that. You ran that unit at, I think, 1,500 square feet of office, and of course, only half of it is office, and the other half is something else. And I guess it's a mismatch. We could just, maybe just leave it at that.
And we can label it
Yeah.
more appropriately so it's clearer.
Yeah, yeah. I think you have enough parking.
Okay. And then the other question was regarding the driveway on the southerly portion of the building was too wide. So, I mean, The idea is so that we have enough, we're not parking vehicles in the front of the
Well,
property.
why do you need just
The garage door, yeah.
Because, well, the idea was not to add additional concrete and sidewalk, it's just an added expense, right? It's a sidewalk. I guess I wasn't understanding why we need.
well, you need about 10 feet of 5 foot sidewalk and about 20 feet of 12 foot, 10 foot wide driveway. All I'm looking for is that,
Eliminate the
I
possibility
don't
of
wanna see a
vehicles.
wide driveway there, I wanna see a driveway that's no more than 4 feet, 2 feet on either side of that door, because that, I don't wanna see two vehicles parked there. I wanna see, no more than one.
And not a commercial vehicle.
Right.
I mean, the site looks really very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, without cars parked there, doesn't it? Okay. Well,
I suppose part of that goes back, when you go there now, you see two fuel oil trucks
Right.
parked in that space. And that's what we wanna avoid.
They'll be on the other side of the new plan.
And then,
so are we clear on reducing the size of this concrete slab?
yes.
Okay.
And then the only other clarification was, we want to do the same thing with respect to PSCNG, but a lot depends on what.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But I would think we should, if they're not gonna move the line, we ought to be able to get them to move that into the buffer. It doesn't impinge on what's going on in the parking lot.
Yeah, that's what we want to, so we're working on that. But I don't have an answer yet as to what.
Yeah, that's fine.
Great. And the rest of the comments will incorporate into the.
We're going to ZBA to finish this?
Yeah, we are noticed for next week at ZBA.
So we'll see you again real soon.
So
We could make a motion to put them to public hearing.
Okay.
But we need that board motion.
Need a motion?
I make the motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
That will be October 10th. Yes. They. They're on their fills. 100%.
Okay, thank you. We're excited about that site being cleaned up. Next, North Mall LLC, Panino's Pizza.
Good evening, board. Steve Christensen with BCMY Architecture. We're the owners of Tonino's. They're looking to expand into the adjacent space, as we previously discussed. Big concern was the parking lot. So the building was supposed to be sold. It did not go through yet. It's going to be happening, couple of, I guess, legal issues. So we did contact the actual agent of the site, and we did speak with the current owner, and they gave us a letter stating that they will fix the parking lot, and they're looking to do a bunch of upgrades.
Well, I asked our secretary to pull this plan out. And I'd like you to take a look at this. Well, it was 2009. Sorry. And there was a great deal of civic interest in this.
Yeah, see the landscaping up here in the front, and a couple of trees.
It was a little more than landscaping that you're looking at there,
Oh,
in my personal
yes,
opinion.
always. I'm not
I
looking at
could
the
be
building.
wrong.
I'm not looking at the building.
Correct.
I don't know what you're expecting from us. Certainly not having the participation of the owner, which is what we were promised on your last visit. We don't even have a representation. We
Yeah,
have a
this is-
letter.
Yeah,
we tried.
the previous owner, well, the current owner, called and said he thought it would have already been sold. So he's like, why should I even come down if I'm already going to be sold?
Because he's got a guy paying rent.
Yeah,
He wants to pay more rent.
so he basically said, I don't want to go because I physically will not own the building. However, that didn't happen. So now the new owner is, that's what this letter is, stating that they are going to do the improvements further. Once again, that's what I've been told. So the question is, being that this is really a landlord site issue, we're requesting if we could not let this hold up Tonino's to proceed because what's happening is we already received the approval for the IA system to go in. And that's all approved, so he's trying to get that in, and the landlord has stated, the new landlord and the previous, they do not want to commence until they install their new septic system, so that then they could just do the whole parking lot. That doesn't answer your question, but I'm basically stating, we're requesting if that could not, hinder their way to proceed, being that they're just a tenant, or, they should.
Well, see,
be
the
penalized.
lack of comfort, I personally have this.
Mhm.
If we can't get him in here now, okay, what happens when it falls apart the second? So
Can
the
there be-
only people that have the ability to get the landlord to come in here, it's not the planning board.
Mhm.
It's the tenant.
No, I
And really, I mean, we took you for your word when you came in here last time and said you were bringing an owner in. Okay, and do we have this letter? Did you see this letter? Does anybody have this letter?
I think they emailed it, but.
It's possible Megan got it. I didn't see it.
Yeah, that's not gonna work here.
But it's a letter from someone who doesn't own the property, so it doesn't.
A letter from somebody nobody knows.
They're managing.
We may never even know.
It's true.
I
Like
wonder
my
if-
father said that once we get going, if they don't start doing stuff, we're just gonna go around to all our neighbors and say, hand over the checks and we're gonna just stop sending, cause it's not right, and legally we're allowed to do that.
Just like his dad was stating, his issue is he's trying to proceed on something.
We're not trying to,
No, I,
we like the pizza. We want more pizza. There'd be no mistake.
Is there any solution from the owner can offer?
be a
Or
couple.
possible?
Who signed the application? I mean, the owner, an owner has to sign an application form, so I'm trying to catch up on, and I apologize. I'm just asking, who signed it and
Probably, Louis,
Is,
the owner of the shopping center.
the current owner?
Yeah.
is there a way to tie him to this?
Well, any decision that you adopt is binding on the property, not on the tenant. So it runs with the land, it doesn't run with just an individual tenant. So if there are covenants and conditions that have to be met, they're gonna have to be, and they relate to the site and the owner. It's gonna be binding on the owner if the owner goes along with it. I mean,
Here's a method to scuttle a sale. I mean, if I were a buyer, I'd be walking in going, what? Hold on.
I don't know. I have no idea what the situation is. That's why I can't really, some buyers would rather know what they're getting. And if you have a nice,
Stating what the covenant restrictions.
yeah, I mean, if they
are.
can read it and they say, this is all good with
If
me.
he wants to spend more money than he has to.
I know they came in and talked to us and said, once they take it over, they wanna redo the parking lot and lighting, and they said to my father, do you know exactly?
Well, those aren't things that are actually even subjective.
Yeah.
Those have to be done.
Yeah.
Okay, but we're not looking for just that, okay? We need, aside from the fact we need the property brought back.
Oh,
up
yeah,
to
yeah.
code
No, that's what they
And
were,
looking decent. We're
Yeah.
looking for a little bit more.
Yeah.
Do we actually need what you see in front of you? Well, yeah, but are we gonna get it? Realistically, no.
Isn't that why it would behoove the new owner to come here and
Yeah.
be heard? Because
We
No,
need
they-
to know
they-
what his
it
position
could end up
is.
being subject to conditions that they're not okay with, or they could come in and have a conversation and make their case and be part of the solution as opposed to just having it imposed on them.
Is this owner Louis McCary?
So my concern is they could look, you know, they could say we don't want to be here.
That's our concern too.
Done. So that's what I'm saying, can we work something, some type of a covenant restriction, so you're not hindered? Because there's other tenants here too in the same boat as they are, they want everything repaired, which they've been told they would be.
Saying is there will be covenants and restrictions. That's a given. It's part of any, site plan like this. There's gonna be some conditions, probably some covenants that the new owner is gonna be subject to them. Whoever owns it at the time of filing the covenants is gonna have to sign them and whoever buys it afterwards is gonna be bound by them. So my only point is, doesn't it behoove them to be part of the conversation and process as opposed to, here's what you're stuck with?
Somebody besides you has to be at least coherent on the topic.
Is there a way that we could even come into the building department if he's willing to? But the problem is, I'm here trying to help them, we're trying to get them a building.
You're looking for a new slice, right? You're looking for
He
some
owes me
different
a couple
slices.
So we're just trying to make it so that he can at least proceed because he has money tied up. He has loan stuff already set, all of the financing is all set. It's getting kicked down, interest rates are changing and, it's sort of they're now on the hook for property that they don't even own. That's what I'm trying to help them with. So if there's anything that could be done, I know.
Yeah.
You made that
But
clear.
you can see the
Appreciate it.
pitfalls.
Yeah, I agree.
But there's something to be said for landlords need to treat good tenants well too, and participate in the process as opposed to just saying to their tenants, you're on your own. Because they own the property and these covenants last forever. So if you don't last forever there, they're still gonna be bound by whatever decisions are made. So the owners need to participate to some extent.
Once again,
I know I'm not preaching
Yeah,
to
no,
you, just trying to give you something that you can tell them to try to influence them to be part of this process.
Did they tell you any additional item?
No,
I think you need,
What would a condition be though that could be covenanted? Like you have to come in here and file something. I mean, that's.
So in general, it's like any tenant that's going to go in this building, they're basically at a standstill. No one could go in the building because of this issue. So due to the vacancies that's in here, no one could go in there, period. So this will never be improved as far as tenants go. So that's the concern that they have as well, being that they're dealing with. So by them, all of a sudden, it's adding, because they're taking a vacant.
you're making our
tenancy.
argument. You know that.
What's that?
Making our argument.
Yeah, I say by them going into that space, it's now improved where that the landlord wants to, because he's cutting up his.
Something that doesn't belong to you. And we don't know who it belongs to or who it will belong to because they haven't presented themselves here. It's really a pretty simple problem. Somebody's got to show up other than you and Dad.
Stating that, as far as any additional tenants or anyone that wants to go in.
That would be the impetus to get, and they should be calling those guys and get them in. Everybody's pretty much in the same boat. We have an owner that's not responsive.
Now, let me ask this, cause I know this guy. So as far as when they did this, is this still as far as the building department?
I think if
goes,
you took
or
this,
this
well, no, it would have to be updated. And I'm sure codes have changed, 2009. This would have to be redone, but I mean, what a great place to start.
The limiting factor on this property is sanitary density. And they are maxed out with this application. And that's why this second story, I don't know how realistic that was. Unfortunately, it looks great. I don't disagree, but.
They can't, cause what happened is too, they had taken 79 seats and there was that basically on the application, because that was the big concern, when we went to wastewater management, to make sure that that applied. There's 0 rights left, so no other tenant could be added into that space. There's
Be
nothing
another
left.
pizzeria there, that's for sure.
Well,
So he'll,
without credits being potentially
Yeah.
transferred, because there are other ways to expand flow.
You'd have to buy the Pine Barrens.
Not that expensive.
that's the concern, just to try and at least get them going, because once the parking lot's cut up, they have no choice but to repave. Because the whole, they're cutting up that whole, we'll say
Yeah.
that specific system, I have it here, this system that pertains to theirs and, the vacant tenancy. So that whole lot will be cut up, that's why we know they're doing it.
The whole lot, meaning the whole lot.
Our
That's,
section,
see, this, so it's not the whole lot.
but they did say, the current owner said to us, once you guys are ripping it up, we'll time it all together, just go, we'll get our guys in to come do it one shot.
They
Instead of-
told me
They should be here telling us that.
Yeah.
And we should be getting something in writing from that owner stipulating that.
And that was the problem. He basically says, I'm selling the property, so it's on the new owner technically. Goes, here it is, yes, we're doing all this work, but now he does not want to come down here because he says, I will not own the property, so why am I here? if I
And when the
don't
new
own
owner
property?"
comes in and says, I never agreed to this. I didn't own the property when this was all agreed to. Now what do we?
No, I understand. I get it. I get it. Just trying to see what could be done to sort of help them out and put the owner on, on call, let's say.
Have you spoken to the new perspective?
They came into the store and talked to us, and they basically said, when do you plan on ripping it up? And we said, as soon as we get the permits, we wanna do it. We'll fix it up if we have to, if it's gonna be a little delay between them coming in and redoing the whole place, but he wanted to time it with us, try to time it with us to get the whole side done with us.
So that kind of sounds like the new owner might be on board too.
He wants to reface the whole thing. He was telling us lighting, the parking lot, the curbs, landscaping. He wants to supposedly spend some money. So and they have a bunch of places.
Did he say when the deal might be done?
It was supposed to be
Supposed to
done
happen.
last week.
So it might happen soon then.
It seems like it's going through.
Well, if that's happened, I mean,
That changes.
if there's been a transfer of title, no matter what, we would need the new owner to
Yes.
Yeah.
sign
Absolutely.
forms. I mean, we have to have an owner's authorization for you guys to proceed with the site plan. So
So
I think that's a question that needs to be answered now.
How close are you to closing? Or not you closing?
So I said maybe
How
last week.
close?
maybe, yeah.
It was supposed to be last week.
Yeah.
and that-
Indefinite?
That Tuesday, we heard that it was delayed a little bit, but the guys were there walking around the shopping center.
So it's positive then.
Like, it looks like it. I mean.
If it's gonna
Yeah,
close
it's
soon,
like Hildreth Real Estate or something, Hildreth Advisories or something like that. They buy up places now. So
I mean, realistically, it's gonna close really soon.
it seems like
The conversation should be with the new owner, because the old owner isn't really gonna care.
Right.
He doesn't want, he's not gonna wanna be bothered. It's like, hey, don't bother me with this. That's what I think.
Does the prospective owner have any awareness of what's going on in this room?
Yeah.
And they were reluctant to come in?
The new owner can't say anything. I mean, they have no standing on the application until they own it, right?
Yeah, but if they may already own it, is my question.
Not yet, it's not done yet.
You said last week it might have.
No, it was supposed to.
If there's an intent for them to own it, they should come down. If there's a real intent, and that may actually spell it out, if they don't show up, maybe they're just, shopping. So, I mean, if I was gonna buy it, I probably would wanna be here, even though I don't own it yet, but there's intent.
You just can, I mean, they have
I
to
don't
fix
want them cutting up a piece of the parking.
Either
Okay,
way, it would get repaid by us, but we wouldn't.
well, we're not talking about repaving the whole parking lot, which is what we're interested in. We want north and south,
Yeah, I got it.
not just And the lighting plan has to be brought into conformance. I'm not sure what other codes have changed. Do we have a plan? Do we have a site plan that
We have a site plan, that went to.
you guys have looked at all that?
Yeah, it's really just putting back what was there in the.
This page, yeah, that.
The trigger. Yeah, it's up to them, but it's been the same. That site was developed, didn't it?
I think we need an owner in here, or a prospective owner.
Stage, they're getting a little antsy with they're upset about the parking lot as well, as you know. But
I haven't seen anybody upset about this site in so long. It's frightening. The only anchor tenant you've got is the Tonino family. You know, they're the only people that bring any value to the site.
I don't wanna see them.
I don't want to see them tormented either, but, you know, certainly we have to protect the village. And, you know, again, we've got constituents and people that look to us for what's going on.
So what happens the next, if they come back to the next board meeting with the owner, if the project, if it closes the sale?
Just concerned. That's part of it. Can I leave here today?
And wait for the sale of the property. Wait for the sale of the property and start over again.
There's a nice lot.
Stay the way.
Just gave them an extension. That would make a very lovely pizzeria. I tried for Starbucks, that didn't work. So willing to pitch you on.
I'm just concerned and believe that their all interest is lost, and they say, well, just stay the way we are. That probably was.
Sections of all sudden.
I didn't get that impression from Dad last time he was here.
Oh,
I'm really surprised that there aren't a couple more brothers here with the owner.
Yeah,
That we didn't carry him in. Oh, you don't want to go? That's okay.
if they don't show anything.
Right now, they're excited about the project.
Stand
And
there.
just
We are too.
as you know, people start getting as excited and they just sort of give up.
And we're pro small business, so we understand it. We get it.
There's from what I've heard, he's been into the town. And,
Never heard anything, anybody.
that was.
That's what I have.
So would you work out? You have a solution?
I think we're gonna have to find out what the owners say, but in the meantime, I think we could try to work out a part of this site that's gonna be reasonably attributed to their use. And at least try to clean that up. Not force them to fix up the entire property, because that's not fair to this one. But this use is gonna take,
Put it towards the parking lot.
this use is going to have a certain number of parking spaces that are required and a certain area that's gonna be used for the septic system. And so at least that part of it can be designed appropriately, as if they were coming in for an updated site plan, and then hopefully by then
Well, where do we draw the line? Are we bringing in lighting, for instance, landscaping, for instance?
We think the
All those
lighting,
elements that are curbs.
we think the lighting compliant because, you know. it's
Come on.
As long as it's fixed, the only thing it may be is poles may be a little high.
But they're all fully shielded boxes, and then they had all the lights along the building were underneath the
It's not LED, I'll give you that. But the code doesn't really require
It's a
it.
dark sky compliant.
I think it's dark side compliant, cause
We think so.
I'm pretty sure it is.
I think so.
It's all shielded.
But perhaps what you do is, if you can authorize Brad and Ron and Britton to, or get together with them and try to see if they can reasonably agree upon an area of this property that should be focused on for their use. And then try to figure out a way to at least get a model site plan going for that. And then if by then the owner closes and shows up and says, I'm willing to do this for the whole property, then,
Yeah, but what if he says he doesn't want to do it?
well, then at least get these guys going. I mean, that's all we can really ask them to. We can't ask this tenant to be responsible for the entire site. That's not proportionate.
It's not.
What they're coming in for is not proportionate to that condition. So whatever conditions we impose should be sort of related to their use. But there is some part of this parking lot that's related to their use.
Well,
And so there's no reason that part of the
back
park.
area of the property too, which
It's
is
back.
nicer.
No,
You
that's
know, the fencing, the dumpster,
absolutely.
you know, all of that stuff is a tragedy.
So that, then they would amend the site plan if the new owner
If it's done in front,
wants to run a curb in a different location.
slice
They
to
can-
the back,
They have a way to amend it?
clean up the dumpster that they use, clean up the fence in their area.
Yeah, everything related to them, problem. They will
That's,
take care of
that
whatever.
storage truck back there that's.
I think that's at least the idea. And maybe if they sit down together, they could kind of figure out a reasonable
Site
portion of the site that could be, treated as if, let's say they were coming in with an application to just bring it all up to code, but not force them to do it for the whole property, which just doesn't seem feasible. It's not fair to them and just doesn't seem feasible. But maybe by the time that process is done, the new owner is going to be on board and come in and say, look, I might as well join it and do this once, as opposed to doing it piecemeal.
There's any tenant that would want to do an upgrade or move in has to, will have a problem. They don't put the,
Yeah. It's a tough situation, but
Well, why don't we take it to that next level where you come in and discuss it with our team and see if we can come up with a reasonable boundary that satisfies the board and gives us a degree of comfort that we still have some leverage with whomever the owner is, because nothing's going to be able to be done unless an owner signs off anyway.
that's true. I mean, you know that. So at the end of the day, if there's a decision that says this part of the parking lot needs to be rejiggered this way, or landscaping or lighting put in, they're gonna have to sign off on it. So that's why I'd at least hopefully bring them to the table, and maybe they'll have that moment, say we might as well fix the whole property up.
All right, so how do we leave this?
If you give the team the authority to meet with the applicants and then report back at the next work session.
Does anybody have anything else there?
No,
I don't agree with that.
Larry? Yep.
No, I think it's going in the right direction.
All right, so I guess you can put this in the record as the board authorizing the village's representatives to interact with the applicant, come up with a proposed solution that we'll review.
I second the motion.
I don't think we need to make a motion on this.
No, I don't think so. Just to put it in the record. It's a work session, so.
You walked away with the whole enchilada.
It's Italian, not Mexican.
You've
You
exhausted
need a
the
pizza,
rest.
you need a pizza reference or a pun there.
Pizza and meatballs.
Okay,
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
I'll take that. Thank you.
Thank you for understanding.
Okay, the next applicant or the next site plan review is Quantuck Beach Club Incorporated.
Just want to put on the record that I am a member of Palm Beach Club, but we've spoken with the applicant so that it conflicts with the ability to submit the application.
Count on your open-mindedness.
Good evening, board members, Heather Wright for the applicant Quantuck Beach Club. I'm here along with Aaron Julian, and we're here today to just introduce the project to you at a work session. The property consists of 4 lots, 3 on the bay side and 1 on the ocean side. And the club has been in existence since 1927. And it hasn't been renovated in a very long time. It starts as a seasonal beach club with snack bar kitchen that basically just serves only lunch for 12 weeks during the summer months. It has locker rooms and a dock and parking on the north side of Dune Road. It is a non-conforming use. And the proposed project is to rebuild the club. It modernize it quite a bit. Right now, there's a lot that doesn't meet current code. That is serviced by cesspools. It's not FEMA compliant. We're proposing for, obviously FEMA compliance, the installation of new septic, providing for more parking, a code compliant kitchen. And so we wanted to introduce the project to the board because we are going to need some variances from the Zoning Board of Appeals. And before we embark on a ZBA application, we wanted to sort of show you what we're proposing. You have the rendering in front of you. And kind of get your feedback on it before we proceed to the ZBA and, develop engineered plans. Yeah. So just to give you, the survey is not easy to read. So the green is what exists at the site right now. The green is what we're the green is what we're proposing right now. The orange is what exists at the site right now. So basically, we're shifting everything here this way so that we can fit in the septic system. We're pulling it out of the user ZBA, which is what we're moving away from the dune. And we're only increasing lot coverage by 0.2. So we're essentially keeping it the same lot coverage. And this will allow us to have more parking here. And then we're going to have parking, obviously, on the bay side of the site.
Heather, what's on the bay side now? That parking thing now, right now?
We're gonna clean up that parking lot?
Yeah, the intention is to clean up the parking lot, obviously. It'll be pervious surfaces. It'll be more of a formal parking lot than what exists right now.
Got some great photos in here.
Yeah, you do.
And I think if you look at the photos, and we even have some additional photos here, the design that you see in the rendering is really sort of in keeping with the style of what existed, back in the 20s and 30s. And the site really needs an upgrade and a modernization in order to continue. And so we're making the proposed design is making the improvements on the lot more conforming to zoning. I mean, as I said, we do need some variances. We put the erosion line is what it is, but everything that we're doing is designed to make it more compliant and be centrally located on the lot. We're actually pulling it away from the westerly neighbor's sideline lot line, and just making it more centrally located on the lot, which I think will look a lot better from Dune Road.
Put on your village hat. What are you thinking?
Ron?
It's a little too sketchy for me to see what's really going on, elevations and stuff. It seems like you're correcting a lot of non-conforming things. The, I had some question about, the membership is gonna stay stable.
Correct.
Now, when you say 300 and whatever members, is that individual numbers? Is that family? Or-
So it's 314 units, which is family. But on the property, it's about 500 in total bodies.
Do you have a count on the actual units, or is that?
314. Might be a little less than that actually, but
And then another question, I was wondering why you needed double, I realize you're non-conforming with parking, but why you need to double the amount of parking you currently have? And another question was how you're tend to use the restaurant facilities, which I understand you're expanding.
we're not expanding the use. The use is a snack bar use, lunch only. They're obviously during the summer months, but we are modernizing and bringing the kitchen itself up to code. So if you're looking square footage to square footage, yes, the space that is going to be allocated towards the kitchen is larger than what's there now, but that's really to accommodate the code requirements and the size of the refrigerator and sort of, so
So
it's not
it's all for the exclusive use of the members and their guests.
correct. Right, it's not a restaurant open to the public.
Okay.
But there was an increase in seating based on the application.
Now, what was that, the increase in seating?
So the increase in seating is really just to accommodate the number of people who sit on the deck space. So you have to, it's not a restaurant. It's a sort of walk up and order your hamburger and then take it to a seat. And a lot of times people aren't even eating. They're playing cards, they're sitting and talking. So it's just to increase sort of the number of seats that are on the deck. And we believe that we'll be able to accommodate that from a health department perspective.
Will the covered seating areas be screened in, or will they be fully enclosed and conditioned?
Do you have problems with parking now?
No, no. I mean, probably on the weekends, there's more people, but even on the weekends, there's not a problem with parking. And then during the week,
Holiday weekends, it gets a little bit dicey.
not terrible though.
It seems like the application is an improvement, from the village's perspective. Sanitary is upgraded, this, parking is pervious and upgraded, so it seems like in the overall, this is a major improvement. I will need to look at grades and section, what the parking lot is gonna look at, all that stuff that I guess would not be done until after the ZBA makes its decision.
You're on board with that, right?
Some of the, stormwater is gonna be easy to design in the parking lot areas. The existing cabanas, either on partially roofed, all the stormwater just goes off into the deck area, runs into the sand. Because we're touching and redeveloping it, someone will have to design to show that works, which is a little, I don't think we have a problem with keeping that old style design. It's just a little atypical to have drainage within the boundaries of a building. And there'll be SWIP for this because we're gonna disturb over an acre.
I guess also there is a lot of vacant property that's gonna be used, whether we have some sequel. I would guess this board should do the sequel, the zoning board, because they don't normally do it in the village.
It's pretty rare that the zoning board takes the lead unless they're really much more of the approval agency. I think there's enough overlap on this where the planning board should do it. That would be my recommendation.
Environmentally, I don't have any.
Yeah. I mean, one initial, it might be more for zoning board, but I think there's enough of an overlap that we've done enough clubs and, Dune Deck, Sandpiper. There's been enough of these over the last 10 years that I can tell you one of the things that will be looked at carefully is just existing to proposed floor area and code requirements, how much of it's being driven by code upgrades. And so when you do a chart, like, these kinds of charts are gonna be helpful, but it needs to be apples to apples with a very clear explanation of what space is replacing what space. So that the board, primarily the zoning board, but both boards can kind of analyze that, this is not gonna be an expansion. And any additional space is needed for code upgrades, things like that. So just take a look at some of those prior approvals, because you'll see that allowances were made, but under certain conditions, so.
You have to quantify the there is some code provided expansion, but it has to be quantified
Right,
within those thresholds.
right, for the membership clubs, they can be.
Like
Dune
100%,
Deck
right?
might be another one to look at. But like looking at the chart, for me, I mean, you have bathhouse and then cabanas and administrative kitchen and office, and it would be nice to have them side by side, so you can,
Before and after.
the boards can say, this is the space that's becoming this space. You know, area to area, so that it's easier to quantify and analyze it all.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that'll be helpful for the zoning board, maybe more than this board, but you might as well get going on that, because that's gonna be a critical thing for them.
I think the most important aspect of this project is the environmentals, which some people touched on, so stormwater drainage, but also the revegetation and removal of, I believe the parking lot, the north parking lot is currently some sort of oil-based asphalt with maybe a crushed bluestone on top. It looks like it's years of materials. And if you were to be removing that with a native, crushed quartz or something like that, then I think the environment's gonna be pretty key, because you are clearing into some pretty pristine areas that have been untouched, historically. So we want to balance the environmental, attributes of the project, whether it be solar or, other green technologies, so that we can do a good environmental analysis. And I'm sure for the secret on that, that will be important. But other than that, a lot of and you go into plan development as well, the finishes, personally, I think the chain link kind of prison gate would definitely use some. And, as you develop plans to sort of look at those finishes and how it appears, to the neighborhood and driving down Dune Road, it does have a huge impact. It spreads both sides, and, I think it could definitely improve. I think thus far it's a good looking project.
Dune Deck had we did a lot of this kind of, it's an entirely different project, but at least site plan wise, there was a lot of things in that pervious parking, because I know we had an issue of how you quantify, how you make parking spaces in a lot.
Yeah, so our approach on the drainage is gonna be to use as much pervious surface as we can. It's really a green, stormwater approach. But yes, but identifying parking spaces on the pervious surfaces does provide a challenge, but, as more people are doing it, more, options are becoming available. So I see that as really solvable.
I think they did an effective job at Dune Deck.
Yeah, I think, it's quite a few years now, but I remember, I think it worked out. I'd like to go back if I could get in and look and see how it turned out.
Well, the wheel stop, they do a fair amount of, and wheel stops kind of, the lines go away very quickly unless you embed cobblestone or something into the gravel, but the wheel
They
stops.
embed them, didn't we ask them to?
I think
embed
so. That was, it's important to make the distinction that had some pre-existing non-conforming uses that are not permitted, whereas the beach club, yes, it's a pre-existing non-conforming use, but there's no dwelling units here, there's no other full-time, restaurant.
That was a much.
That was a little more, yeah.
It was intense usage, yeah.
PEC review on the expansion of these areas.
Yeah, as far as into the undisturbed areas, basically that's overflow parking. Doesn't really get used that much right now. what we really want to do there is to maintain the grass surface as much as we can and really just provide an edging and some more definitions for the parking so it's more efficient. But we really don't want to change the surface over there because it seems to work pretty well now. And if we don't change the surface, we don't have to do stormwater. So yeah, we'll definitely keep you abreast. On the ocean side, we're looking at a letter of no jurisdiction from the DEC, which we're actually going to get started on in a couple of weeks. On the bay side, it's going to be a little different, but the parking area is all literally out of jurisdiction because, as Britton pointed out, it's an improved surface, and their jurisdiction literally stops at the parking lot. So by doing some of the conversions and the green stormwater management, I think we're going to make a major improvement over there.
How's the bulkhead? I didn't. look.
It's good shape.
This would be an unlisted action and because the beach club's almost 100 years old. It never had site plan before, so for our new code, public hearing is required. But a lot of the zoning board, it's kind of 50-50, but this is kind of zoning board heavy with the redevelopment, so I would suggest we probably hold off on.
We should talk to them. I mean,
Talk to them before we schedule our public hearing. They're gonna have a public hearing regardless because everything is. And you're going before them next month?
Get the application.
Oh, I don't have the application.
I wanted. I didn't know, we would have.
To hear from the board so we can incorporate their
We're
comments.
flattered.
Here 4 years from now.
Do you have anything to add?
Send it next Friday.
Rocco, any comments or consideration? So, I guess the next step is for you guys to go see those guys. I think it'll be a benefit to the village. It certainly has been an asset for the village for years. And we're excited for it. It's gonna be a nice cleanup. Yeah. Thank you for bringing it in. And good luck. Let us know how we can help. Okay.
I think all we have is the minutes for
Yes.
August 22nd.
We have minutes from August 22nd. I need a motion to accept minutes as written. Make the motion. All in favor? Aye. Take a motion to close the meeting. Second. All in favor? Aye. See, you guys thought we finished everything in the village. You guys are all ready to coast here.
Missed it. What were we talking about?
They just keep going.
This doesn't save.
Oh, we done? We closed?
Have you closed the meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh-oh.